That's 07811 659 364. Serving the community, 102.5 EAVA FM.
Okay, how's everyone doing? This is EAVA FM 102.5, and we're live here on the Caribbean Vibe Show with Attraction B. How you doing, Attraction?
Well, I'm all right. I've been soaking in the weather, of course, because it's absolutely brilliant out there. You know, the weather is Nice.
Okay, and here we are. We're doing a special radio show once again, and we have the Leicester NHS today, and we're going to get straight into this. We have some great guests from the NHS Leicester today, and we're going to be talking about Step Up to Great Mental Health. This is a consultation with the public of Leicester about mental health services in NHS Leicester.
I tell you, when we're talking about mental health, it's a big topic.
It
is a big
definitely,
topic, and
definitely.
you know, there's a load of people out there that needs to be aware of mental health as well. You know?
Absolutely. I think right now there's a lot of talk with the mental health, especially with us at EAVA FM. We've been breaking down barriers within communities around mental health. Unfortunately, a lot of people have also passed away because of bad mental health. People have really, really been seriously ill as well. And with the pandemic and now everything opening up, it's affecting people's mental health quite a lot.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring Sue Venables live and direct into our call. Remember, people, you can also watch us live on Facebook and our YouTube channel. And we've also got Saskia as well. I'm going to bring Saskia as well. Hi, Sue. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
And we can hear you loud and clear. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, great to be here, and thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for everything you've all been doing at EAVA FM.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about what this consultation is and everything around the consultation, really, and the questionnaire, and what you want the general public to do?
Yeah, so we think in the NHS that if when we're providing new services or we're designing and redesigning existing services, it's much better when you actually design them with people and talk to them about what matters most to them and what their needs are. Because I mean, in everyday life, if we were, buying, say, a vacuum cleaner, that vacuum cleaner, people have talked to the people who actually use that to refine it. They ask them what matters most to them about it. I've got a pet, so it's got to get up the dog hairs and all of that sort of thing. So we believe it's the same in healthcare, because healthcare is so important and vital to us all, and particularly mental health services. So this conversation that we're having right now with people, it's asking them about, I suppose, two big aspects of mental health. So those services that people need when it's urgent, when people have gone into crisis, where they don't know where to turn. And there's some lot of proposal suggestions that we've got on those services. So just a couple of examples is creating what we're calling a central access point. If that's the right name, it might not be. People might tell us they don't think that's the right name for it. But central access point, so it's a telephone number and a point of contact that people can ring where they've got an urgent need. And we want them to call that, where they will be assessed and then signposted into the right service. And the reason that we're introducing a service like that is that sadly many people reach that point where the only place that they can turn to or feel they can turn to is accident and emergency, the emergency department, and that isn't the right place for them. Their need is for mental health support, not physical health support. So that's why we've introduced something like the central access point. But that's just one example. There are seven or eight other additional things that we want to introduce when people's need is urgent. But then the other big pocket of change we want to make is where it's services there are more routine services that people receive, but we want to provide that care closer to where people live, so in the community, so that we're not dragging them into maybe a central location like Leicester.
Yeah.
That we're providing more care locally. So 2 big pockets of changes that we're making with lots of elements to them.
Okay, go on.
Right. So is there any other services that's going to be coming on board or in what you're doing?
Or is anything going to be shut down in terms of beds or anything like that?
No, do you know, there's nothing controversial about these changes, because so much very often that we do in the NHS, it can be controversial in terms of closing a building down or closing beds. But this is positive news in terms it's about investment into services and investment into mental health. And there's, for a long time, we've really heard how people feel that, physical health is important, but mental health, it's not given equal status. And I think, you said earlier on, particularly with COVID, we know that it's a really big topic now, as people are struggling with kind of the new normal. Social isolation and all those sorts of things have really come into play. So other key investment, we've got at the moment what we term crisis cafes. We've got 3 of them at the moment, but we want to actually create 25 of them, but in all sorts of different areas across Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. So as part of this consultation, we're saying to people, we want to create these. Where do you think they should be? And what do you think should go into them? So, simple things like that to make a real difference.
Right. Okay. So
I just want to bring Saskia involved inside this as well, in this conversation. How are you doing, Saskia? Are you okay?
Hello, yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about the service as well, the consultation?
Yeah, I can. So my name's Saskia. I'm one of the acting service managers, but also a mental health nurse as well. So I think my sort of part of the consultation is around that, how people access services when they're in a crisis, or indeed before they get to that point. So I think Sue's covered it really well, but it's not about sort of closing things, shutting things down or making it smaller. It's about looking at what we've got and really enhancing some of that where we need to. For example, the crisis cafes, introducing the central access point and the hub that people can go to if they're in a crisis as an alternative to A&E, but also with some of our sort of community teams, so where it's more a planning period of care, really joining some of those teams up together. At the moment, we've got lots of individual teams, and we want to sort of bring it together so they're working together more collectively to make sure that patients aren't being passed around from one place to another. So I think it's positive, really, and we're hoping that we'll be able to offer a better service for our patients, and we really want to hear the public's views on what we're proposing and see if it's sort of joined up with what people in the communities want, really.
Yeah. So can you tell us, why do you feel the need to have this change now?
So I think historically, sort of mental health services have always offered sort of the same sort of services across the country. What we know now is, and especially with the pandemic, mental health sort of crises and conditions, I guess, are on the rise. We know that 1 in 4 of us will have some sort of mental health difficulties at any point in our lives, and we want to make sure that services are moving along and are adaptable and flexible around that, so they're not sort of static. So I think, some of the things we've got at the moment, we do have some long waiting times for some of our community services, don't we, Sue? Also as well, people sort of presenting in a crisis, sometimes they had a little bit of a disjointed service, so you might go to one place and they might refer you on to somewhere else that does another assessment. And we wanted to make sure that when patients are coming to us in a crisis, them and their carers and relatives are getting that really smooth service. So we've done it because we know that there's things that we can do better for our sort of community and those with mental health difficulties. So that's why.
So what are you hoping to achieve by doing all this?
I guess what we're hoping for is more of a sort of joined up mental health services. We're hoping that people, that when they're in a crisis, there's two things. I think the main things are, one is that when people are in a crisis, they get timely access to help and support. They don't have to go to lots of different venues and have lots of different assessments, but also that we're proactively reaching out to some of the people before it gets to that crisis point and getting them into the right sort of pathways or into the right team, so that it's not always when they're in a crisis. You know, we want to help and support people before it gets to that point. And make sure that they get, you know, quick access and that they get the help and support they need. They're the main sort of priorities, really, with that real focus on, I guess, prevention and helping people before it gets to that real crisis stage, acknowledging that when people are in a crisis, they need something quick and they don't want to be repeating themselves over and over.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned something about current services. I just want to kind of can either Sue or Saskia tell the listeners really about current services for mental health, because I know, how will it change to what the proposal is, and what is the change?
So I think do you want me to go, Sue?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah.
So some of the changes we've already started to introduce, and so for example, before, if you needed to get access into sort of specialist mental health services, which are what we provide, which is known as sort of secondary care, you'd have to go to your GP, and then your GP would do a referral in. So it would be very much, you'd have to go through your GP before you got there. One of the sort of main changes that we're consulting on, and something that we've already started to do, is introducing a central access point. So that means that if you think that you need mental health support, you don't need to go via your GP. If it's sort of an urgent crisis, you can ring, or your family members can ring, and they can self-refer to the mental health central access point to get that help and support. So we wanted people to feel empowered to get support from services when they need it. So a lot of it, like I said, is around accessing services, not having to go through somebody else, but being sort of in control of that and being able to make those calls for help and support when you feel the time is right for you. And I guess it's around having more of those things in the community, like the crisis cafes, that are more informal, that people can go to, because we know that accessing mental health services can be daunting for people. People can have had negative experiences in the past. We get that. We want to change some of that and make sure it's more sort of embedded within communities. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Sue.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other big thing, which is why it was introduced as well during the pandemic, is, you know, sadly, people think perhaps of A&E before they think of a lot of other ways into getting support, particularly if it's evenings or weekends when their GP isn't open. And to go through the doors of A&E in terms of with a mental health condition, in the kind of old world, people would have received an assessment, but it might not have been in a timely way. But they would have also maybe been referred to services which may not have been, you know, the right services for them. Whereas now within A&E, we've got mental health staff who can support mental health, so that an assessment can be done, and then people are actually signposted to the right service, and they're not bouncing around the system, and also you know, they're not having to tell their story a number of times over. And the other aspect is that, you know, sometimes if you've got somebody who is in a hospital bed with a physical health condition, then that physical health condition could have also caused mental health issues, and that now is being picked up by support with mental health workers who are working within the physical health environment, and they're able to reach out and give support to those people. So it's about joining up both physical and mental health care. So there's things like that, and that's been really important, because obviously we want to really reduce waiting times in A&E, and we just want to make sure that A&E is for the most critically ill patients with physical health conditions, and make sure that people who need mental health support are being diverted to the right place for them, so they don't have long waits and they're talking to the right people.
Right.
Okay. Also, in terms of crisis service, the crisis service out there, I know you're looking to improve that actual service, because right now it's I don't want to say it's not good, because there is a service out there, but if someone has a crisis, which is very emergency, there's a service, but we want things to happen a lot faster from what I'm reading from the proposal. So what are you kind of proposing to improve the crisis service? Who would like to answer that?
I'll do it if that's okay, unless you want to. So.
You could also
you'll go ahead.
Is it okay? And also explain a little bit about what a crisis would be, just to the listeners so they understand. Everyone kind of gets there's a lot of confusion around, we're going to A&E, we know it could be something major, that's when we go to A&E. What could be a crisis in terms of a mental health issue, and how can we kind of pick up these signs? I know it's a bit away from the proposal.
Yeah, it's
but
a very good point, though.
do you know what I mean? Attraction? Yeah,
it's a very good point.
Yeah. So we mentioned crisis services. A few people in the community have asked, what is a crisis service? What do you mean by crisis? So go on then, Saskia.
That's fine. So our sort of traditional crisis team, when we refer to sort of the crisis team, this is ordinarily for patients who, before there was a crisis team, would have been admitted to a psychiatric hospital. So this is to sort of keep people who are at that real crisis point out of hospital, to offer them home treatment in the community. So, for example, it could mean that somebody would need maybe 2 visits a day with a mental health nurse supporting them, or a support worker with their sort of whatever's causing their crisis, because it's a massive spectrum really, so it could be a wide range of things, but it's that intensive home treatment and support. And the crisis team is made up of lots of different people, so you've got psychiatrists, you've got nurses, support workers, social workers, etc. So it's really that wraparound in someone's own home and in the community to provide them that help and support. And with the proposal, we're looking at sort of expanding that and making sure that we've got a crisis team that can deliver what it needs to do, so that it can see people maybe 2 or 3 times a day if needed. That's what we're sort of aiming for, and also can help to take people out of hospital. So we know that when people are in hospital, they're away from family and friends, that can be difficult. We want to make sure that our crisis team, when it's appropriate, can help with the discharge back into the community, providing that intensive support. So there's lots of different things that would sort of define someone being in a crisis. I guess it's different for each individual. So it could be something, if somebody's experiencing suicidal thoughts and they can't, they're saying that they're struggling to keep themselves safe, family can't keep them safe, or it could be somebody who's having sort of a breakdown known as like a psychotic breakdown, so they're hearing things or seeing things that aren't there, very distressed by that. It could be someone that's really depressed, so they're struggling to sort of get up in the morning, get washed and dressed. They're in that sort of real crisis point where their mental health is no longer sort of manageable, with sort of what's out there, maybe by the GP or by the community mental health team. They need something really intensive, and that's what we want to offer. So we want to be able to offer people, visiting, like I've said, up to 3 times a day, regular reviews by a multidisciplinary team, so like doctors, nurses, social workers, etc., who are reviewing maybe medication or what other sort of psychological input they might need to get them through the crisis, working with the GP and the mental health team if they're with one. So that's what the crisis team is, and that's what we want to get it to with this consultation, working collectively with our other partners. I think it's important to say, if you go to A&E, like Sue's mentioned, in a crisis, and somebody says, actually, we think you'd benefit from some home treatment, we want to start that plan of care with you then. So that practitioner that sees you in A&E, the mental health nurse, they're starting with you going, look, what is your plan of care? What can we do to keep you safe? When do we need to be worried? Who do you want us to talk to? So that when they go to crisis, they're not having to repeat all of that information again, or family and friends aren't having to say, this is what's been happening, because that's some of the feedback that we've been getting, and we know that that's unhelpful for people. So we absolutely want to bolster that crisis team. And I think what's important to say as well is what we want to do is get real strong sort of planned treatment and recovery teams so that we can stop people getting into a crisis, so that actually when you're starting to go into maybe some sort of mental health crisis, your regular community team who know you well can maybe intensify the support that they offer to stop you needing the crisis team. But we accept that people, will always need a crisis team to support people.
Okay.
I think as well, the support and proposals we're offering are at all different stages of life as well. So, for example, we are doing more to support people who might have had post-traumatic stress after the birth of a child. If circumstances with their maternity experience, have not been good, or sadly, that has resulted in the loss of a child. So we're increasing the support in those teams as well, but also increasing the timeliness of support for things like perinatal services. So for at the moment, that support is only there for 12 months, but this would be for a 24-month period. So pre-conception right to after the birth of a child. So, and then the other end of the scale is people are feeling that they're not coping with life. Maybe family members feel that they're getting more forgetful, and that it could be the start of dementia. Then it's getting that diagnosis in the right sort of way, and in a timely way, and in the way that people want to receive that diagnosis. So it's really multifaceted. It's really broad in terms of the improvements that we're making for different people at different stages of life.
Okay.
All right. Improving your crisis service. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about improving, the
crisis cafes
and stuff like that?
What are the cafes as well? Like the crisis cafes. We know that there's currently over the next 4 years there's going to open another 22 crisis cafes in Leicester and Rutland and Leicestershire throughout. And what is a crisis cafe? Because I've never heard of a crisis cafe before. This is something very new to me, being involved in community radio, even yourself, Attraction.
Yeah, that's true.
So what is a crisis cafe, and how are you going to improve these services? And is it like a drop-in where anyone can walk in anytime, or tell us a little bit about that?
So shall I jump in first, Saskia? So, if we look at an example of the Crisis Cafe in Loughborough, if you were looking from the outside in, the Crisis Cafe in Loughborough looks like partly a cafe and partly an emporium, a gift shop. So you wouldn't think from the outside that it was providing the services that it does. But it is a drop-in centre, and it's for people who maybe just want to go along, maybe feeling socially isolated, just wants to have a conversation with somebody. There are staff on hand to talk to, but there are also staff in there who have experienced mental health problems themselves, so are able to chat with people. But I think the beauty of this consultation is that we're also asking people not only, where do you want this cafe? What would you want within this cafe? What would you look to do? Would you just look to have conversations, or would you look for sort of more care and treatment within the crisis cafe? So it's from the outside in, it isn't what people would expect, and it gives that anonymity, but also that feeling that you can go along and it isn't. It doesn't feel like a place of medical or clinical support. It's just a drop in.
Okay. Just want to say that our ads will come on automatically at past. So we do have just about 2 minutes left before we go into the advert. Do you want to say anything about any other services of improvement before we ask any final questions about what we're asking all the listeners to do? You've got literally a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that I think... Oh, go on, Sue, sorry.
No, you go.
I just want to say that for me, it's really important that we hear from as many communities and people that we can really want to hear, because this is what we think needs to be sort of part of the consultation. But we know that it's the communities that are using it, and I'd really urge people to please sort of give your opinions, read some of the consultation documents, and have your say on what we think we can improve. I mean, I'm particularly interested to hear from some of the sort of ethnic minority communities to see, as we know that their experiences with accessing mental health services is often very different, and we know we've got lots of work to do there. So I'm really keen to hear from everyone, really. But just if people could please just take the time to do it, we'd really appreciate it. Every sort of view counts, and we're listening to what you say, and we want to make changes to support people with their mental health.
Yeah. It's a good cause what you guys are doing. Right, we're going to go for our ad break, and we're going to come back and talk to carry on talking to Sue and Saskia more about mental health. So yeah, definitely. I think the consultation, we really want people to kind of sign up, give their voice across, but also want to kind of talk to you guys more as soon as we come back from the breaks about some of the other services that you're looking to improve as well. Quickly go over any other services or anything specific that you really are, that is going to be, or propose that's going to be different. So this is EAVA FM 102.5. This is a step up to great mental health with the NHS Leicester campaign. We will come back shortly after these commercials here on EAVA. And remember, be sure to tune in to our Facebook and our YouTube.
EAVA, sharing the richness of cultures. This is EAVA FM.
Grill Shack, Leicester's finest jerk chicken specialist, giving you that carnival taste all year round. Jerk chicken, rice and peas, coleslaw and fried dumplings. Yummy. Come and check us out in the heart of the city, 167 Belgrave Gate, Leicester, LE1 3HS. Try our boneless jerk range in a wrap, gourmet burger, pita or strict. What we do in our jerk range, we also do in peri peri. Online delivery via Just Eat, Deliveroo, I'll Get It and Zoom. For collection and orders, call us on 0116 262 2885. That's 0116 262 2885. Grill Shack, the authentic taste that brings a smile to your face every time.
Serving the community 24 hours a day. EAVA FM.
1 in 4 adults are unwell with their mental health each year. We want to invest in and improve mental health services for adults in Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland to make care easy to access, with health services working together to support people's individual needs. Whether you use services now or may in the future, tell us what matters most to you and your family by sharing your views in a consultation. Complete a survey at www.greatmentalhealthllr.nhs.uk or call 0116 295 0750. And together we can make the change. Step up to great mental health today.
The voice of Leicester, sharing the richness of cultures. This is EAVA FM.
हर साल 4 वयस्कों में से एक मानसिक रूप से अस्वस्थ होता है। हम लेस्टर, लेस्टरशायर और रटलैंड में वयस्कों के लिए मानसिक स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं में निवेश और सुधार करना चाहते हैं, ताकि लोगों की व्यक्तिगत जरूरतों का समर्थन करने के लिए स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं के साथ मिलकर काम करना आसान हो सके। चाहे आप अभी या भविष्य में इन सेवाओं का उपयोग करें। परामर्श में अपने विचार साझा करके हमें बताएं कि आपके और आपके परिवार के लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण क्या है। www.greatmentalhealthllr.nhs.uk पर जाकर एक सर्वेक्षण पूरा करें या 011629500750 पर कॉल करें और हम सब मिलकर बदलाव कर सकते हैं। आज ही ग्रेट मेंटल हेल्थ की ओर कदम बढ़ाएं।
EAVA FM.
Everyone can now get free rapid COVID-19 tests twice a week. They show your results within 30 minutes. They also show you're doing what you can to protect your loved ones, your friends, your workmates. and that you want to keep life moving again. Around 1 in 3 people who have COVID-19 have no symptoms and are spreading it without knowing. That could be a friend, a relative, a workmate. It could even be you. Rapid tests are easy to get from nhs.uk/get tested. Let's take this next step safely.
EAVA FM is a multilingual radio station serving the diverse communities of Leicester on 102.5 FM. For advertising and sponsorship, email sales@eavafm.com or call 07811 659 364. That's 07811 659 364. Serving the community, 102.5 EAVA FM.
Okay, people, we're back live on EAVA FM 102.5. We're here with Sue Venables and Saskia. When we're talking about a step up to great mental health with Leicester NHS, the latest consultation, talking about improving mental health services within Leicester NHS. So please, people, please fill this out. And I know, Attraction, you've got a question here.
Yeah. There's a question I wanted to ask about, because Saskia touched on it before we had the ads, and it's about helping more to do with the ethnic minority of people, so what can we do to improve that?
Who should I?
Saskia, would you like to answer that?
Can you hear us?
Sorry, I've just heard that you said you want me to answer. I can't. Sorry, it was my.
It's no problem. Yeah, because like I said before, before the ads, you touched on to the ethnic minority. So how can we get more people involved, and what can we do to improve this?
Do you mean involved in mental health services or involved in the consultation?
Yeah. In the consultation.
So I think it's about doing what we're doing, isn't it? Coming to sort of communities and talking to people. We're doing lots of different events. I know on the weekends, colleagues sort of visited one of the churches in the city centre just to talk to people and sort of encourage them. And I think it's about us being approachable so that our BAME communities don't feel that there's something to be feared with mental services, and we do stuff to break down those barriers and the stigmas. And I think doing this and talking about it is one of the ways to do that. We are doing our sort of own work around what we can do, sort of not part of this consultation, but separately, to make sure that our services are reaching out to those communities and working with sort of local community leaders and things like that to engage people into mental health services. What we know is that from some communities, it does wait till it hits that sort of crisis point before people come into contact with us. And then it's often difficult because maybe they're very unwell and they don't want to be in hospital, and we're bringing them in against them. That's just an example, isn't it? So we want to work with communities so that when families or indeed people with mental health difficulties themselves start to feel worried, they don't leave it until it's in that crisis point and they reach out to us before. And I think that's what the crisis cafe is, the sort of central access point, the hub, like Sue said, the liaison team there, all some of the things that we're looking at to do that. So I think it's about hearing from communities directly, what do they think will help as well, what do they think we can do to engage people more. That's right, it's difficult. Years and years of mistrust and sort of mental health services not doing all that they can to engage communities. We know the experience has not always been positive, so we want to do things to sort of change that.
Right.
And just building on what Saskia was saying yesterday, we did visit a church in Leicester yesterday, and it's really interesting the feedback that we got from those groups, because they were telling us in terms of culturally, many communities have been brought up where the words mental health really hasn't featured either in their vocabulary, or it means something very different. And It's not only about the individual, it's very often about the family, children and what it means to the whole family. So we heard about that. So we were talking a lot yesterday with young people, and they were saying that through the voice of young people, that it's really important in terms of education and getting an understanding about what we mean by mental health, how we can all look after ourselves, how we can see the first signs and understand and listen to the rhythm of our bodies to really understand if something is going awry, but also using young people then to talk to families, mums, dads, grannies, granddads, and everything. So, it's the power of young people to educate and get people to talk. And, and that's a massive job, because sometimes it's breaking down years of culture and years of an approach to something. And I think, we all find that, really difficult in terms of change.
Yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree with you in terms of what we need to do, carry on and keep on spreading the message, especially getting more younger people on board as well. Also, there's technology. How is technology helping to support people in terms of, like, during the pandemic, technology played a huge role in terms of, in fact, what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
What are we doing right now? We're on a video call. I know today is everything's opened up from today onwards, but still because we pre-planned all of this and we had to have something in place. So how is technology helping in supporting people with mental health issues or during this whole proposal as well?
Yeah, so looking at what people are telling us already, I think the technology discussion is a really interesting one, and it's one that maybe kind of splits almost the community. So you've got younger people who are really very open to using technology both to get self-help and support and guidance. So they're happy to go onto websites. They like the idea of having informal chats online, so a little bit like when you're talking to your bank, you've got that chat box at the side. So they're really open to that. But then you've got an other end of the scale where you've got older people who, might be what we typically call silver surfers, but they've got a red line in terms of, we will use it for everything else, but we don't really want to use it for healthcare, because we feel that face-to-face is so important, particularly when we're opening up about things that really matter to us in our lives. And then you've got those people who are just not digitally enabled, either that they're just not interested in technology and then never going to interact with it, or that for some reason it just isn't for them. So I think in all the discussions that we're having about these proposals, I think the most conversation and the most differences of thoughts is coming from digital, and just how much that you can use it to both support and diagnose and treat in terms of mental health, and how you can use it in terms of getting that self-help guidance and support. And it seems to be coming down to, in some cases, age, but also just really in some cases it's coming down to whether people feel it's right for them to use technology for mental health or even physical health services. It's a big discussion, and one we're going to be interested in terms of what people are saying in the outcome and what the general feeling is.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Also, in terms of mental health care, the mental health urgent care hub at Bradgate, do you want to say a few words around there? Because there is an urgent care hub at Bradgate. What's going to happen to that? What's the proposal? Who wants to answer that one?
Should I do that, Sue?
You go for that, Saskia. Lovely.
So the mental health urgent care hub originally was set up in response to the pandemic. So we knew that sort of A&E was going to be overwhelmed with people presenting with COVID symptoms, and we wanted to make sure that people in a mental health crisis got access to sort of urgent support. So we set up our urgent care hub, which is really the similar sort of model to if you went to one of the urgent care centres for your physical health problems. So it's not that urgent that you need A&E, but you can't wait, you need to be seen sort of really soon. So we set that up, and it's based at our Bradgate unit, which is our sort of inpatient hospital site. And like I said, originally it was to divert people away from sort of A&E, but it's grown and sort of blossomed, and we've realised that patients actually prefer to be in a different environment. Obviously, we've all been to A&E, bright lights, lots of noises, machines beeping. There's sort of a rush, isn't there, to get you in and get you moved out quickly. And the urgent care hubs allowed us to give people who are in that need that sort of urgent mental health support and somewhere safe, but away from A&E. So we take referrals from all sorts, really. So, for example, if somebody's in a crisis at home and they call the ambulance, before the urgent care hub, the ambulance will take you through A&E. You'd have to go through sort of a triage person. They'd then refer you to the mental health team. Then you'd be seen by a mental health nurse. We've cut a lot of that out with the hub. So now the ambulance will ring, the ambulance, the paramedic, they'll ring the hub directly. They'll say, I've got Joe Bloggs, this is what's happening, needs to be seen urgently, and then the ambulance will bring them directly to the hub, and they'll get that sort of mental health assessment and support a lot quicker in a different environment that's probably more therapeutic than A&E. So it's allowed us to create a different environment for those people that can't wait for crisis, or they're too unwell to go to a crisis cafe. They need something sort of urgent. Maybe they're not safe to be at home, or they're displaying symptoms which would mean that they need that real urgent assessment. So we're hoping, as part of the consultation, to make that a more permanent fixture, and it's just about hearing people's views and what they think. Obviously, we've been collecting lots of patient feedback anyway along the way, since it's been up and running it's been a year and about 3 months now, and we've had lots of feedback, so it's just about keeping that going.
Right. Okay. So how can people find out more about your proposals?
There are lots of different ways. So we've got a website that people can visit. So that's www.greatmentalhealth.nhs.uk. And on there, people can either look at information on the website, or if they want to download a leaflet, they can do that. But we've also got some great videos on there for people to have a look at. So, people may be just really interested in maybe one or two aspects of this. So, it could be that the maternity aspect and the changes there are really of interest to people. So we've got a couple of videos. They're only sort of 60 seconds each, and they just say in a nutshell what the services are now and where we want to improve them. And it just really gives people that very brief overview. And then if they want to then go to the survey and fill out the survey, they don't have to fill it out at all. If maternity services are what matters to them, they can just talk about that. If they just want to answer a few questions, they can do that. It's really whatever matters most to them. If people don't want to go onto the website, they can give us a call on 0116 295 0750, and we can actually post them out some information about the consultation. It just gives the quick edited highlights on what it is. We can also send them a written questionnaire that they can fill out in the comfort of their own home, and they can just post that back to us. If people feel that online and the writing on the questionnaire isn't for them, and they just really want somebody just to support them through and have a chat over the phone, then we can get somebody to go through the questionnaire with them over the phone. Or we do have, we can provide details of dates and times. We still have a number of events that we're organising, workshops, so people can come on online workshops. and they can, again, whatever they tell us is the right thing to tell us. But we're also hoping in the final sort of 4 weeks of the consultation, we want to do some outreach work. So we want to be at Foss Park, we want to be on Loughborough Market, so that we can catch people in their day-to-day lives and just talk about this consultation. And even if people have just got time, we can fill the survey out with them. So lots of opportunities, lots of ways of getting involved, and people can spend as little or as much time, but just talk about what matters most to them.
What about in terms of voluntary, people that want to volunteer to do what you guys and help on board as well? Can you give us a little bit about that as well?
Yes. So, in terms of the work that we're doing, if people are maybe part of a sort of volunteer program and feel that they want to sort of lend a little bit of time to particularly the outreach work, so when we're talking face to face with people, we'd be delighted to hear from them. Again, if they want to call us on 0116 295 0750, and they can be part of that. But also what we're finding throughout the consultation is that people say, well, I want to join in and I want to give my views on the consultation. But then when you're actually introducing these changes, I want to be part of that then. So, for example, with the crisis cafes, I even want to sort of almost co-design them, what might go in them, what colour schemes you might use, all of that sort of thing. So we're really open, and we see that, these changes won't happen overnight. Some are already there and we just need to improve them. Some may take 3 to 4 years to really embed in, and we want that relationship with people for as long as it takes in the future. So there's lots of opportunities like that.
Right. Okay. Just want to say thank you for everyone for coming along today. It's been absolutely fantastic having it heard come straight from the NHS, right? Attraction.
It's you know what? This is what people need to know, because this is very important, These issues, a lot of people out there don't even have a clue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
especially with the services out there already.
So it's so good that these people are putting their input into what they're doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Saskia, and thank you so much, Sue, for joining us today. Just want to finally say, can please everybody sign up to the new consultation, fill out the questionnaire. You can go to the website, the phone number's here, emails there. You can also tweet them or go on their Facebook channel. Remember, Great Mental Health, llr.nhs.uk. Just want to say really, really thank you once again. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Thank you, Saskia. Thank you, Sue. So yeah, Attraction. Mental health services in Leicester will be changing. There's going to be improvements. Really, really good for us to be involved and letting the community know. Really,
this is another subject. Like me and you always talk, and this is another subject that is very vital because in everyday life. I mean, I walk the streets of Leicester, and I see a lot of people with issues. And there's a lot of people with issues. And, these kind of information needs to be out there. And I noticed that I put the flyer in front of the camera so you guys can know what kind of leaflet you can be looking at. And I'm holding it right now, and it's simply called Step Up to Great Mental Health.
It's a public consultation about proposals to invest in and improve adult mental health services for people in Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland when their need is urgent or they need planned care and treatment.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We're going to be coming off our live streams now, so we're just waving goodbye to everyone. Carry on listening to us on 102.5 FM.